Hey guys, OGalbina here, and I have a bit of a different video for you guys today. So I was kind of, again, we're getting towards the end of the generation, sitting back, reminiscing, thinking about the, past 3 years of our lives that we've been playing on Sword and Shield, and then I remembered that another game came out that we thought might take over the main competitive scene, and what we might be playing until Scarlet and Violet came out, in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. And for those of you who don't know, obviously, that didn't end up happening. It didn't end up working out. As much as so many people wanted it to, and so many people wanted the Gen 4 remakes to just be like, ORAS equivalents of what those games were, they just weren't. And today I kind of wanted to talk about why the Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl draft meta just didn't pan out at all. I know it seems like it's a simple answer, but I really do think that it's a bunch of tiny things kind of adding up. For example, we'll talk about it in a second. If you guys do enjoy, though, be sure to drop a like on the video as well as subscribe to the channel. We have a giveaway going on the channel as well. If you want to go ahead and comment as well as sub to the channel for the next week, I believe we are going to be giving away a copy of Scarlet and Violet, and it goes on for another week. So if you want to enter in, be sure to drop a comment. And yeah, let me know what you guys think as well about my kind of analysis of the BDSP metagame and things like that. So that being said, let's jump into it. Now, the first thing that I have heard from everybody on why BDSP failed is just that there weren't enough Pokemon, which I get it. I don't particularly enjoy like limited metagames for an extended period of time, and it wasn't like ORAS where it was a Gen 4 centered remake. But we got all of the other Gen 8 Pokemon, like, added in, or, like, could, be played with post-game or anything like that. It was just 1 through 488 in the Sinnoh National Pokedex. Now, with that being said, or whatever that is, I think it's 488. I looked up before, I'm pretty sure it's 488, I don't know. Regardless, though, something that I looked up and I noticed is there's actually more Pokemon from Gen 1 all the way through Gen 4 than there is in the, Galar decks in general. When Pokemon Sword and Shield first dropped, there was no DLCs, there was no home compatibility, there was nothing like that. There was 400 Pokemon in the game. In this game, there's at least more than 400. I believe it was 488 in the game. So the answer isn't as simple as there wasn't a lot of Pokemon, so it wasn't fun. So I feel like we need to kind of touch on that, and I kind of have 2 leagues in which I participated in, with their tier list pulled up right here. This is first NCP Season 3. Now, first, I would like you to not laugh at the awful tiers. They're a little bit juiced, obviously. But, and this is with, like, home transfers and stuff like that. Like the home deck meta. But, I don't know if you guys would understand that. But, yeah, don't laugh at the funny Tier 1 Barraskewda, Tier 2 Blastoise, things like that. Tier 1 Corsola, oh my god. That was when we were playing on 20-minute timer and we were trying to promote people to not stall out games, so we made everything bulky expensive. Hella funny. Oh, that's a time. But if you look at the metagame, it's just a lot more balanced than something like a BDSP, which we can show off, where these top 2 point tiers are so exponentially better than everything else in the metagame. It's insane. For example, in the BDSP meta, we had dragons absolutely ruling thing, whether it be Latios, which looks like it's banned in BDSPOU, Latias, which isn't banned, Garchomp, which isn't banned, man, Salamence, all ran shop on this meta because if we look up the fairy typing, we have 3 of them in OU, which are typically the better ones. We have a Gardevoir in UU, we have a Granbull in RU, and then from there, they're not really usable fairies. I'll be 100% honest. You have 5 usable fairies defensively. And even then, Gardevoir is a bit of a stretch, but it's very good offensively too. You have 5 usable fairies defensively. The 5th best fairy in this metagame is Granbull. It's Granbull, guys. Mr. Mime, again, it isn't an awful Pokemon. I'm sure you get some use out of it. And I'm sure it got drafted in plenty of BDSP drafts. Mawile as well, maybe. Just terrible stats. But Intim and things like that. Wigglytuff, same thing, maybe. But even then, that's not enough to cover a whole league. You have these NFE ones, but like a Clefairy, and you think, oh man, you could draft Clefairy, throw in an Eviolite. I would like to show you something. The only items that were in BDSP were items that were in the game up through Gen 4. So we're missing out on items like Eviolite and Assault Vest and things like that, which again is very, very important to note. So we'll kind of talk about that here in a second. So 1, we had dragons just absolutely ruling the metagame. Whereas opposed to this, there's a lot more fairy types, there's much more steel types as well. Let's look at the steels. Eddie. Yeah, so I mean, I guess there is a lot more steel types. There's basically 1 per person, essentially. There's a Heatran, Irachi, Mag, Scizor, Skarm, and yeah, so there's definitely more steel types, but again, no reliable recovery. We don't have fairies to pass fat wishes into them. It's not something that's going to last over the course of the game, especially when all of these Pokemon get fire or ground coverage. Every single one of them. Sometimes both, in the case of Garchomp, Salamence. So these Pokemon were all extremely over-centralizing, and really, you're put in a tough spot in a metagame in which you have not a lot of Pokemon, because if we're banning all these top-tier threats, what the hell are we drafting? You know what I mean? So that's when it gets kind of tough a little bit. And then I kind of want to look at psychic types. As weird as that sounds, yes, psychic types, right? So not only is there no fairies in the game, let's look at the viable dark types in this metagame. We have Crawdaunt, Rocked. Oh, sorry. Crawdaunt, Rock. T-Talk, Great Dark type. Weavile doesn't switch in as a defensive dark type. So you basically have Cheetar, Drapion, Umbreon, Sableye, Spiritomb, kind of. Skuntank down here is definitely a very valuable piece, but other than that, there's not good defensive counterplay to offensive psychics at all. Things like Alakazam, things like, let's look, Psychic. Ooh, not Dark Psychic. Psychic. Things like Alakazam, Azelf, Rachi, Latias, Latios, Starmie, Celebi, Gardevoir, Metagross, Mew. All these Pokemon just ran house in this metagame. Like, they were absolutely insane in this metagame. I remember, I think the Trick House tour, they did a BDSP tour, and I think they banned Alakazam because it was just so much faster and stronger than everything. So I really do think that just, like, this metagame really came down to a point where it was, like, not that there wasn't enough Pokemon, but the typings and roles weren't evenly distributed enough in this Gen 4 metagame for things to be sufficiently checked. And it also didn't help that some things were more modern with their movesets and things like that, like Alakazam, Latias, and Latios with what, like, did it get Mystical Fire in this again, Jen? Did it not get in this? No, it doesn't. Okay, that's good at least. And get Shadow Ball, Earthquake, stuff like that, which is obviously pretty annoying. But, like, some of the things were a lot more modern in their sets and their abilities and how they worked, and, like, Magikarp, Alakazam, and things like that. And the fact that no Pursuit was in the game, which is another really big thing for Psychics, is that we're playing with Gen 4, with, like, a Gen 4 pool, but we don't have any Pursuit in the game to punish these Psychics, or, you know, the one Ghost in the format, and Gengar, basically. I think it's pretty much just Gengar. Gengar banned? Yo, Gengar's Ubers in BDSP OU. I did not know that. That's hella funny. But yeah, so between no Pursuit and all these new things, but then we have, like, very outdated mechanics. Like, we have no Eviolite, we have no Assault Vest, so these special attackers are just running through this metagame with ease. And even Pokemon like Blissey, there's one per draft pool, and even then, it's a Pokemon that can be very much so prepared for, and exploited in a draft setting, and, you know, things like that. It's not just going to be a one-stop to every special attacker in the game. Like, it's just simply not going to happen. So I think that was a really, really big aspect of why BDSP ended up just completely tanking. That's at least a big version of it, right? Is the sense that there wasn't enough even distribution of different roles and things like that are very, like, integral to draft league success. And weird, like, exceptions of, like, this Pokemon can do this like it can in Gen 8, but this Pokemon doesn't. And for example, another thing we haven't really touched on is something like Zapdos, like these BDSP move pools. I mean, look at this poor thing. Oh, what is in this tier? It's actually UU, which is pretty interesting. But if you guys play Sword and Shield, or even if you guys play Usum and Orash draft, like, you know, Zapdos is an incredible Pokemon. Tier 1 and Sword and Shield, it has Hurricane, Roost, U-Turn, Volt Switch, Defog, all these fun things, all these things that make it incredible. The big thing with Zapdos, Heatwave, the big thing with Zapdos and BDSP is that it gets none of these moves. It does get U-Turn and Volt Switch and Thunderbolt and things like that, which is great, and Defog, but it did lose Hurricane. It lost, not Roost. It lost Heatwave, and it just really lost a lot of its ways to offensively pressure teams and not just be a sitting duck in front of every single ground type in the world, which is really, really tough because Zapdos is an incredible Pokemon. It's a Pokemon that really fell off. I think another funny instance is, like, Tentacruel not learning Toxic. Why? why? Like it just doesn't make sense to me. So it's sad because I felt like this game could have been a lot of fun. I love the graphics on it. And even if it was a more limited, I don't know, man. I feel like adding in these Pokemon to Sword and Shield that weren't in it previously, and maybe giving them some cool, neat, you know, exclusive moves that they got in BDSP could have really revitalized. Sorry, there was a loud noise in the thing. I was a little scared. They could have really revitalized the Gen 8 Draft League meta in general. But it kind of just forced us to drag on with Sword and Shield that last year. Just really saying, oh man, I hope Sword and Shield, Scarlet Fire is good. I hope it's good. I hope it's good the entire time. And it's just, I don't know. It was a bit unfortunate. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of the BDSP meta. This is a pretty short discussion, but I figured it'd be fun to talk about. Oh, I didn't mention Dragonite. Dragonite's another demon, but it doesn't get dual wing beat, no more flying stab because we're in BDSP. I mean, look at this 11-point Flygon. Like, it's that Flygon's in the top 25% of the Draft League pool points. Like, what are we doing? You know? So, you know, again, let me know what you guys think. I'm recording, buddy.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, bub.
Gotcha.
Okay, thanks, buddy. Well, as you guys can see, I have donuts to go eat. So I'm going to jump off. Let me know what you guys think of these discussion type videos. I know this one's a little bit shorter, but this was the only idea I had in my mind to do like a discussion type video, like some BKC type stuff, which is the content I personally really enjoy watching. So if you guys have any good ideas for like, you know, these free-form conversations on different Draft League concepts or even like metagame concepts and any discussions you want to see me talk about, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your input. And yeah, that being said, see you guys in the next one. Later.